Hey, I'm Lucas Stewart with Survival Storage Shelters, and I want to thank you today for taking the opportunity to look at our shelters, and I want to explain to you some of the benefits of ours over our competitors. What we have here today is two of our garage model units. It's the same model. We've shown you one with the lid and then one without the lid so that you can see some of the features of the product. First of all, we start with a 10 gauge floor, and one of the differences in ours is you'll notice you have structural steel under the floor, and what this structural steel does is it keeps the floor from weakening after the shelter's been installed. From there, we have 10 gauge sides, and they're formed on a CNC equipment so that you're guaranteed a perfect fit each time. And each of them are bent at a 90-degree angle at the top. On the sides, you'll notice that you have 1/4 inch structural steel. Well, it does two things. One is it adds to the integrity of the shelter, but the other thing it does, and you'll notice this with some different shelters, is that our structure runs horizontal, and some of the shelters have structure that runs vertical. The advantage of having structure running horizontal is that it locks the shelter into the concrete. So after you pour the perimeter with concrete, the angle iron locks it in. If the structure was vertical, it allowed the shelter to slide out of the hole. So these shelters are 4 foot wide, 8 foot long. That's 32 square feet, and they're 5 foot tall. That's one of the advantages of it, is that you have more headroom, so that you have more cubic footage inside the shelter. We cut a hole in the concrete that's 10 inches wider and 10 inches longer than the shelter is, and we backfill that area with concrete, and once it locks onto the unit, you have the correct weight to keep the shelter from floating out of the hole. Some companies will backfill the hole with dirt and then only put partial concrete around it, and the disadvantage to that is you don't have enough concrete so that if there were to be a high water table situation, your shelter could actually pop out of the ground. So you're not going to have that happen with our shelter. Another advantage of it is that we have a urethane caulk that we apply to the shelter prior to putting on our coal tar epoxy. So anywhere that you have angle iron, you may notice by seeing some units on other dealers' lots that you'll see rust bleed through here. You won't see that with our shelter because it's 100% sealed, so there's no place for water to get into the shelter. Here we have our zinc. The zinc anode is a sacrificial anode that if there will be a situation where you had any electrolysis in the ground, it would attack the zinc anode, not attack the shelter, causing it to rust through. This is rated for 25 years, so you're guaranteed that this shelter with the zinc anode is not going to be in a situation where it rusts for those 25 years. Some of our customers like to add water, cable television, electrical to their shelters, and each of the shelters comes with a port so that you can do that if you'd like. Looking on top here, one of the major benefits of our shelter is our lid is oversized. You'll notice that this lid overhangs the shelter by 6 inches. What this does for you is after the 5-inch perimeter hole is cut and we backfill it with concrete, you have a nice finished edge here with this door, and you don't see where your concrete was cut. That's a big difference that our customers tell us that they really like about. So I'll climb inside now and I'll show you some of the interior features of the shelter that make us stand apart from the competition. Hidden beneath here, you'll see that we don't have ball bearings, we have solid aluminum rollers. What that does is there are other companies that while testing their shelters through a simulated tornado, the ball bearings have a tendency to bust, making it more difficult for you to open the door, or making it where it's not possible at all for you to open the door. Ours have solid aluminum rollers, which adds to the integrity of the shelter. Here you'll see that we've got a lockable key system. What this does for you is it allows you to lock the shelter should you not want anyone to be able to get into it in times when you don't have a storm. You'll also notice that you have 2 heavy-duty chains here to allow you to have a second, third locking point with the shelter. Once inside, you'll notice that the shelter has got a carpeted floor, and then we've got removable benches on either side. You'll also notice that you have a light fan combination. This fan provides you the necessary air that you need through the port up top. You'll also see that the steps are removable, and I'll show you over on the other shelter the purpose of having the removable steps. What it does is it'll give you more room in the shelter once everyone's inside and you lock the door and everyone's safe. Okay, over here on this model, you can also see that we have a storage locker here on the end. Our customers told us that they want to be able to secure their valuables in here. You may have certain papers that you want to keep up with. You may want to have water in there. Maybe MREs, meals ready to eat. And this locker here allows you the opportunity to be able to store that information and those goods in there. We also have, if you want to look back at this shelter, this may be hard to see from this angle. You've got a television mount, should you want to add a television to your shelter. All of our shelters come standard with a come-along. The way this come-along works is should there be a situation to where your door is blocked, the come-along will hook on this location here, and you'd be able to pull the door open manually with this come-along. So thank you again for taking the opportunity to consider our product. I think if you do a thorough comparison, you'll find that there's a reason that our shelters are considered to be the best on the market.